Welcome to the Learning Can't Wait podcast, a Full Mind production. At Full Mind, our vision is to ensure every child has access to an exceptional education. Each episode, we will be joined by pathfinders within and around the education space who are bringing about transformational change on behalf of deserving students. I am your host, Hayley Spira Bauer. Welcome back, everybody, to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. We have, if I had to pick a favorite genre of guests, we do have my favorite genre of guests. We have a teacher and author on our podcast here today. We have Alicia Meyers, published author, coming out with a new book. Alicia, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Learning Can't Wait podcast.
Hi, Hayley. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here. Are you wondering which of those two is my favorite, like author or teacher?
Now
Or do
I
you have a
know.
guess? So it's teacher because, in ed tech, in education, there are a lot of people with great ideas. And none of those great ideas matter if they don't move the needle for the people inside of classrooms. And you are a person who is still toiling away at changing children's lives. And so your insights are like gold, but even rarer than gold. I don't know what's a substance more rare than gold. So it's teacher, Alicia.
That's so exciting. I love it. It's so fun to be dabbling in both worlds, teaching and writing. It's fun to connect the two.
And what it really does is it allows for the amazing wisdom, insights, expertise that you're executing in your classroom to be spread to a wider audience. So let's jump in and spread to the wider audience. And maybe you could tell everybody, how did you come to be the personal and professional version of yourself?
Well, I was one of those lucky ones that knew I wanted to be a teacher since like second grade. I've never wavered. I've always wanted to become a teacher one day. So I went to school for early childhood education and there took a course in that had a focus on urban teaching. So I knew immediately that I wanted to be in inner city schools. And after college, moved to DC to teach for KIPP for a few years, and then switched years later to DC public schools, where I've been for the last 10 years, teaching preschool 3 through second grade. I actually didn't start writing until COVID. Um, I started writing books for kids and just like I took a course learning a little bit more about children's books. And a few years ago, after I'd started a bunch of projects, I decided it was time to start writing about more personal experiences and my experience with Tourette Syndrome. And because there just was not a lot of books that celebrated neurodiversity, and there were slim to none when I was a kid growing up that I could open and really see myself in. And so now I'm kind of in this fun phase of blending all these big areas of my life, so like teaching, writing, and living with Tourette syndrome, and it's all coming to a head today. So I'm excited to chat with you.
So incredibly exciting. And children need to see themselves in the literature they read, the media they consume. But you said something really interesting there. You said neurodiversity as it relates to Tourette's. I think a lot of people don't know that Tourette's is considered a neurodiverse perspective. What's the right word there? I'm not even using it correctly because it's not something I'm fluent in either.
Condition.
Condition, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that a little bit? Can you help edify everybody about the link and maybe why there has been misclassification or confusion in the past?
Yeah, I think neurodiversity in as an umbrella term is just about our unique bodies and brains. Like the way our brains work, it's just everyone's is different and some people's works a little differently than others. And it's something to be celebrated and excited about, and not something that should make us look down on or frowned upon or look down on ourselves. So I would say Tourette syndrome, because it's a condition that starts in the brain, it's a condition that where your body is making tics, so motor and vocal tics that you can't control. And it doesn't change your IQ. It doesn't affect your IQ. It doesn't affect the person you are. It doesn't affect your heart. And so that's just something, it's just an example of one of the many conditions that really your brain works a little differently, but it doesn't change the amazing person and unique person that you are.
Like so many of the manifestations of these conditions, it's often seen in a classroom as a behavior or like a negative behavior that's interrupting the learning of the classroom. And so the reason why I was like asking you to kind of expand upon its connection to neurodiversity is like, to your point, there isn't a lot of text and literature that really dives in. I do think there have been some like recent TLC shows that look at
Yes.
different individuals who have Tourette syndrome, that have helped to illuminate the A, diversity of the condition, but also B, the completely beyond control nature of the manifestation of the condition in individuals. And so I appreciate you adding color to that and agree with you as someone who also identifies as having neurodiversity, who's been diagnosed with neurodiversity, that so often it is confused with being limiting or using a deficit
Mhm.
mindset, but there are also these really positive ways we can view the conditions. And I think the reason you're writing a book is to help kids see that. So tell us a little bit about, and I'm going to make sure I say it correctly,
Mhm.
Tickerific Me.
Yes, Tickerific Me is a picture book that celebrates Tourette syndrome, and it's a narrative nonfiction picture book. So it's really just talking about one little girl who's introducing herself and the bright, bubbly kid that she is, and all of the things that she loved with any of the tics that join her of Tourette syndrome. So it's really a message of you can be anything you want to be and anyone you want to be. And the tics that come along with you are just part of who you are. And so this book is really exciting to share because I do think that there hasn't been a ton of representation in the media with Tourette syndrome. And but like as you were talking about the TLC show, like there's such a wide range of tics and there's such a wide range of experiences with Tourette syndrome. And I think it's important that not only are kids represented in books, but like that wide range of each condition is also represented in books and in the classroom.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I can only imagine what it feels like to be a child who is experiencing Tourette's and seeing a book that is, reflective of maybe some of their experience, obviously not going to be identical. That
Mhm.
is extremely powerful. But, Alicia, this isn't the only book you've written. Can you talk a little bit about the breadth of books you've written? I know you also have A to Z Teaching Toolkit, which came out in 2025.
Yeah. So the A to Z Teaching Toolkit is a book for both educators and for families, really anybody who works with children. Can use this, can use it, who have like an early learner, so early childhood age or elementary student. And the goal for that book was to bridge the two worlds of home and school. Because as a teacher, we have parent teacher conferences. We're constantly sharing resources. Parents are coming to us asking for advice or tips or resources. And I just wanted to have something that could be easily grabbable and shareable, that also could connect the two areas, right? Um, I wanted something that was, it's a book that's practical. It has a ton of over like banks of ideas, wish lists that you can, go shopping and buy the materials that you need, or a ton of ideas of things you can just make with what you have at home. And it's something that any teacher can pick up, whether a future teacher, a new teacher, a seasoned teacher, and kind of start and end where you want. Um, so what was really important to me is that in the world of teaching, right, we have so much to do. The time is always of the essence. And though I might love to go home and read, not everybody would choose to go home and read a long book about teaching when you just finished your day of teaching, right? Sometimes you just have to separate the two. And so my goal was to have something that was small bites. So in the A to Z Teaching Toolkit, you can start at any chapter, any letter of each chapter is a letter of the alphabet. You can start at any letter and just read one chapter. You can just uh, read one section of the chapter and go and implement the ideas and come back to it. They are all standalone chapters. And so you can kind of do it any route or roadmap. You can use any roadmap you want to get through the book and use in your classroom.
You are speaking the language of teachers because you are a teacher. And I know that your background is in early childhood, what we call that like sweet spot, like under second grade and lower. Um, some people define it slightly earlier than that, but as someone who has taught kinder first and second, I am I am in wholehearted belief that it kind of spans that age. And one of the reasons I believe that is because there has been this really public push for explicit science of reading, phonics mandates, state level policy changes around
Mhm.
early literacy. It's one of the most hotly debated topics in education right now. As someone who is a second grade teacher who is also writing decodable books, which we haven't touched on yet, how are you navigating that conversation in both your classroom and in your writing?
I think for me, just the art of reading, learning how to read is about confidence, the joy, like the fun of reading and reading empowerment. And so I think with this new push towards doing more needs-based small groups, so seeing just a few students at a time and having a little like less of that whole group phonics time or reading time, it's allowed me more space to work with each child and on a more personal level, connect with them, cheer them on, help them through new strategies, give them daily boosts of confidence, and really um, push the fact that they can do hard things. And so I think that there, as long as you have that balance in books, whether you're doing whole group lessons, close reading, whether you're doing phonics, decodables, whether you're writing your own books during writer's workshop, or whether you are an author or a teacher doing your own projects on the side, I think it's just really important that we keep a balance of a range of themes when we're introducing these things in the classroom. So I think, yeah, does that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, and listen, it's hard because as with everything in education, the pendulum swings. And phonics instruction, explicit phonics instruction is not new. But
Mhm.
after a bunch of podcasts called Sold a Story, there has been a lot of familial attention and pressure on school districts to abandon this kind of like whole language model, which was adopted by a majority of schools in America.
Mhm.
And so when you think about the importance from the ground, like you're on the ground, how has the national push, I guess I would say as a follow-up, how has the national push changed or not changed what you're doing in your classroom?
I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is with our push in science of reading through needs-based small groups, a lot of the a lot of books have been taken out of the equation, right? Kids are really working on decodables and practicing skills that they learn from a phonics lesson. They're taking a small objective and then trying to practice that objective that they almost have moved away from picking, like understanding how to use books. And
Mhm.
every day we're giving them passages and questions to answer and draw and respond and find this in the text. And then what we notice happening after, at least in my experience, after the first few years of that shift, I would hand a kid a book and they wouldn't know, how to turn the pages or which way to hold it, at least in my earlier years when I was working with earlier kids, younger kids. And I think that they just don't understand that they don't practice as much the excitement of like turning from page to page and understanding the flow of a book or the plot arc of a book. That experience gets taken away, or like getting stuck on a cliffhanger and going to the next chapter. Like these are things that our youngest readers, at least in like kindergarten, first grade, early second grade, are kind of missing until we have the time and space to introduce them to text, right? To like full text books. And then if you take into account budget and resources, access to resources, it also can be really hard if your school or classroom might not have a decodable library or guided reading library from years ago that you can still pull books from, then it gets even harder to find books that kids can feel confident reading as newly independent readers.
Yeah. It's a both and, to your
Yeah.
point. It's a both and. Kids need to hear the like breadth and width of texts, long texts, cumulative texts, not narrative nonfiction, fiction,
Hmm.
all the things, because exposure really matters in early
Yeah.
childhood. And they need the explicit, discrete instruction and practice that comes because what I think the mindset was, kids will just get it. But not all kids get it. One of my favorite
No.
stories to tell these days is that I have two very different children, two boys. One is in first grade now, one's in fourth grade. My fourth grader just like muscled through it, like didn't apply the phonics, explicit phonics
Hmm.
instruction he was using in his reading, just like muscled through it. And you could see it now. He's reading complex text, but you could see it like when he's reading, sometimes he'll just like guess at the word. He doesn't like really stop to apply. And most of the time he's right and he's fine. He's still making meaning. But my first grader like gets it and he can decode anything. Like he can
Mm.
read a complex science magazine for the most part because he is using those foundational skills to make meaning of words. And it is fascinating to me. Now, I haven't been in a classroom in 10 years, so this is my like very small use case, Alicia. But like I'm sure you see this all the time. Like there are some kids who can muscle through it and it's going to be fine. But there are other kids who are trying to muscle through it and it's not going to be fine. And then we have a whole bunch of middle schoolers who can't decode properly, which was a previous episode I recorded.
I've also noticed there's a huge amount of kids who can fully decode and have no idea what
Nothing.
they've read.
Yes. Yes.
And that's honestly, that's probably, I would say that's probably my biggest struggle in second
Mm.
grade because they are so used to drilling phonics and decoding skills that we've taught that they get to the end and they can't answer a question on the story. And so we have to really work hard at comprehension and trying to check in while reading, think about what happened using, all different areas of kinesthetic learners using your hands to try and remember parts of the story, using art, using visuals, and getting every learner to figure out like what is their best way to comprehend a story.
You're like speaking my language. Yes. It's we are given a gift as teachers to help kids unlock the coolest unlock in the world, which is to read and to
Yeah.
have the world be at their fingertips. Like there are so many movies that like romanticize books with good reason, in my opinion, because you just have access to everything when you can
Hmm.
read and understand. And look at you, you're doing it with kiddos and you're writing the content too. Are your kids flipping out about this upcoming release date?
They're so excited
Have
about
they
it.
already read the book with you?
No, nobody has read the book. Well, I mean, I've sent it to, people to for arcs to see the digital arc, but I am keeping the big reveal for them when it comes out. They've seen the front cover. We've deep dived into Tourette Syndrome and what it means and what it is and my experience with it. And they had a ton of questions. But I'm really excited for the day where they get to actually sit and read the book.
I really hope you're throwing like a book release party in your class.
I am in DC. Yep, it's gonna be
That is
great.
so cool.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
gonna be
gosh,
so
we'll
fun.
have to talk offline more about that because
Yes.
that is so cute. And I can only imagine you mimicking what a real book release party looks like and giving them the real world experience of that. That's the other part of classrooms that I miss so much. Like, practicing having a cafe in my classroom, and
Oh, yes.
that's the best.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really fun merging the two worlds of teaching and writing because also through my experience of like come to build a lot of connections and relationships with other incredible authors. And as they release their books, I'm able to bring them to my classroom, read them with the kids, and connect with the author themselves as friends. And so my kids are really used to talking on the phone or FaceTiming with authors, writing them letters to thank them for their books, giving them reviews. We've learned all about starred reviews and how to write
You're like,
reviews
tell your
that,
parents to please go on.
yes,
Star this evening after the release party.
5 stars. Remember, don't forget 5 stars.
Or like you open up the one-to-one devices if your school has them and they're like,
Yes.
everybody click here.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun, and they as they've grown up. So I'm actually looping with my kids this year. I have just looped with my kids.
Okay,
I
you
taught
had them
them.
in first and now in
Yes,
second. Oh, I
yes.
did that once. It was the best.
It's been so much fun, and something that's been really special is seeing their love for books and for writing through my career, because my A to Z Teaching Toolkit came out last year when they were in
Wow.
first, and then my first picture book's coming out this year while they're in second. And so they're getting to like see both journeys for me, and it's just been really, really fun, and they're excited to write. They want to craft books of all kinds, and they want to text the author and ask a question that they forgot to ask them last week, and it just builds a lot of excitement. And what I love about that is that they're seeing these authors as just normal people, and they're understanding that they can really be that author one day. That can be them.
Well, because you're giving them that example, right? Like
Mhm.
this is such a function of the environment you're building for them. It is so beautiful. And like, I feel so thrilled to hear how your kids are engaging with the experience of reading and writing. That just, it makes my heart feel so happy. And,
Mhm. Thank you.
I bet there are other folks listening to this, maybe people who are just starting their teaching career. And I'm wondering, as a final question, what advice you would give a teacher who's starting their career today?
Oh man, I would say that the most important thing you can do as a new teacher is build relationships and connections with your kids from day one. From the minute they walk into the classroom, find ways to connect with them, learn about their families, um, think about how they can be, each child can be represented in the classroom from the first day that they're there, and how they can take ownership over the space, and it's a shared space rather than a teacher, over students. Um, I would say always be a continued learner, read and research, and look for new ideas, share your ideas, find a trusted mentor or an experienced teacher that can take you under their wing, and be flexible. I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the most important things of being a teacher is that you have to be flexible and leave space, because all day they can tell us, to that the mandated about the mandated curriculums and how to prep for standardized tests. But at the end of the day, the teachable moments are the ones that kids remember the most, right? And like the messiness of a classroom of learners that are truly getting their hands dirty is far more memorable than having a perfect classroom. So I would just say use that flexibility as a positive piece, and encourage kids, to interrupt, to ask questions, and be inquisitive, and find answers to questions that they might not know yet.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Alicia, if people want to buy your new book, where can they buy it? You should plug this before we hang up our call here.
The A to Z, both books are on, or I'm sorry, the A to Z Teaching Toolkit you can buy through my publisher Routledge or on Amazon. And Tickerific Me is available with anywhere books are sold, so you can get it Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Um, you can get it through my publisher Free Spirit, really anywhere. So I'm excited for this book to be out in the world, and I really hope that it connects with a lot of people.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and the brilliant work you're doing both as an author and as a teacher. It's been an honor having you on the Learning Can't Wait podcast, Alicia.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun to chat.
And thank you for everybody for tuning in today. Thanks for listening to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share this episode. Be the first to know when we have a new episode by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a suggestion for an episode, email us at podcast@fullmindlearning.com.